You're talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm Harishindra Prasad from Jubilee Hills Public School. I'm also the secretary of the society that runs these Jubilee Hills Public Schools. So I'm actively involved in this association activities since about 35 years. Been with the academics and management and development of the schools in the society.
Thank you so much, Harish Chandra sir, for your introduction. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of INTAP Campus Care presents Ed Talks. Ed Talks is a platform where educators and leaders come on board and express their viewpoints on topics related to education and society. Our topic for the day is communication skills, assessing students' ability to express ideas and listen carefully. And for the same, we have with us Mrs. Seher Sultan ma'am, Principal of Eram Public College, Indranagar, Lucknow. Very welcome, Seher ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for inviting me on the platform. I look forward for a very successful and enriching session with my peers over here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Then we have with us Harish Chandra Prasad sir, Secretary of Jubilee Hills Educational Society and Chairman of Jubilee Hills Public School, Hyderabad. Very welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then we have with us Dr. Kajal ma'am, Director of United International School, Pune. Very welcome, Kajal ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really looking forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Then we have with us Ms. Shruti ma'am, Senior Principal of Maharishi Vidya Mandir, Maharashtra. How are you, Shruti
Thank you,
ma'am?
ma'am. Yes, fine, ma'am. Nice to meet you. Yeah, seeing you even.
Thank you
And
so
I
much,
find
ma'am, for taking
I'm
out your
looking
time.
forward for an enriching session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And last but not the least, we have with us Ms. Unnati Joshi ma'am, Principal of JP Modi School, Gujarat. Very welcome, Unnati ma'am. How are you?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me here. Really looking forward for this session.
Thank you so much, Unnati ma'am. Uh, okay, so Kajal ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, we are speaking of communication skills, and it is very important that, in a classroom, when a teacher is, teaching the students, so it is very important that the message that the teacher wants to give, the thing that the teacher wants the students to learn is very clear. The communication should be very clear. So, can you describe of a time when you had to explain a complex concept or an idea to the students or anybody, and how did you ensure that your message was effectively understood in the classroom?
Thank you so much for asking this question. And communication is something very dear to me. And to start with, I'm very glad that you've chosen communication as a topic for a session, because we'll be really getting bored of having NEP, NCF, and this is a refreshing change. And now coming to the question, like how to explain a difficult topic where if the students they do not have the context. I'll give you a situation if I'm talking about AI, and as CBSE has made it, one of the subject which we can provide to our children. So how we can introduce AI, and wherein if children they do not have basic baseline, how we can introduce it. It's simple as such, breaking into steps, making it very simple. As in B.Ed also we have learned it simple to complex, and then avoid jargons. Like if we have some technical terms, we can bring it to simplified version, and even giving them real life examples of ChatGPT, how to use it, and even giving them a real exposure, taking them on the platform, showing them visual aids, and even telling them that like when I'm explaining, I'll encourage asking questions. So they are allowed to ask n number of questions, and making it two-way process, not a one-way. Has to be a two-way. Communication is all about I am telling something, they are listening, and they are responding in a way. And then even engage actively. How to like we all know that when we listen, there are two types of listeners over there. We have active listeners, we have passive listeners. So engage them into active listening, to ensure that whether they are listening, asking questions. So these are the simple steps where we can enhance active listening, we can check whether they are getting, and this is the way we can ensure that my message is passed to my students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kajal ma'am. Seher ma'am, over to you, ma'am. Can you describe a time when you had to explain something complex to someone, and how did you ensure your message was, effectively understood, ma'am?
Well, as Kajal ma'am has said and spoken, I completely believe, along with her as an educator, that we are stronger when we listen and smarter when we share. And she spoke about classroom activities. I will share a leveler where I had to train my teachers in certain segments. And since I have come from overseas, so my exposure to education fraternity is more advanced compared to what I have seen over here for the past 5 years. So when I had to introduce certain strategies of teaching to the teachers who had read in their Bachelor of Education but had not practically seen or implemented, such as theory of constructivism. It was a very dense topic. When I spoke about 21st century learning skills 5 years back or experiential learning, it was like when I talked about plenary in a lesson plan, nobody understood. So what I had to do was take sessions with them, make them a part of the learning process. As a teacher, I had to make them sit with the PowerPoint activities, group activities were done to make them understand what is collaborative learning, what is cooperative learning, how it enhances the classroom atmosphere when we use the same strategy. So they would treat us as students and they learned the strategies. We engaged them to learn. And then I brought them out, like the smarter ones out. When we say the smarter students of the class, we brought them out and I said, now you take the lead and then in small groups start teaching. So then it disseminated, like we tried to make it transparent for many. Gradually the learning process began. And that's how it's like elevates the level of, so the accessibility comes slow but then it transcends with clarity. So we have to have very focused preparation, clarity of what we are doing, and believe me, time bound focused work never goes waste. It shows success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Seher ma'am. Shruti ma'am, over to you, ma'am. When we are speaking of communication, so active listening is also an important part. So, ma'am, can you share an example of a situation where you were actively listening to someone, let it be in the classroom or outside the classroom, ma'am? When you were actively listening to someone else's perspective, and uh, how did it improve the communication, ma'am?
Can you please repeat again once again?
Ma'am, it is that can you
Second,
share
ma'am.
an
Yeah, I would like to actually share one practical situation. The place where I'm running this school. Actually, here I find parents they are connected to me, not like with me as a principal or as an administrator. They many not only they share their children problem, but also they share their some domestic problem also. So I just quite few months before, one of the parent our child was not very regular in school, and as usual the things were just reaching to me like she is a single lady, she's single parent. So the various things which I got was like that parents is not paying attention, child is not good in study, and so many rumors. As we know, rumors are best travelers. So I thought of like to speak to the that lady itself, mother of the child itself. Then, to my great surprise, I found she was having like very fatal domestic issues, which we cannot even discuss on this platform. And the people who were giving her the problem were her own family member, and like she was having no shelter and no miss where to go. That way the situation was. I called her, I listened her instead of, and she was having some issue of fees also. Then whatever way I can help her, I would like to share to you that that made me. It is good. I have given her the time to listen, and then the solution, the way in which I can help her. I talk to my staff. Then the concerned person to whom she is related with. Then I talked even the authorities with who are at her peripheral. So I observed, like she got a great help, and now she always found that her child is regularly coming, and recently half yearly exams are going on. So I observed that the child is also doing best. Otherwise, the child would have lost her education because of lack of security. And even the lady, I have given her some legal support also, and now she is doing a small job, but she settled her life. So I think I given her almost frequently. She used to ring me, and same thought she used to share. Mom, you always help to the ladies, and you are the power for us. So please, so that made me again to boost up. Like, maybe she find that strength in me. So this is not a one case. uh, Often I come across such type of problems, and I observe that once we listen to them actively, and then we should have to analyze what are the pros and cons of. It's not like one sided listening. Why the one is why the one wants your help, whether it is something really genuine behind this, or you are getting the food. That can be also remain sometime. That also I face, but it is like, okay, it is in our destiny, and go ahead, that way I take it. But when as an active listener we remain, I've observed that many of the people, they get only support out of uh, your resources, and those people who are connected to you, they can be helpful to them. I think it is your patience and your positive thinking, like to always to look at the positive side of that thing, like, and to determination that yes, you can provide support to the one. This is not only a one nowadays. I often come across such type of situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti ma'am, and thank you so much for your answer. And yes, active listening, it actually improved communication here, and the lady felt, very comfortable sharing her problems with you. So, Unnati ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, can you share an example, a situation where you actively listen to someone else's perspective, and it helped the communication? Unnati ma'am, you're on mute.
Yes, very surely. Before I give you the example of being active listener, I would like to draw attention to a certain point, that being in this teaching community, all the teachers, the leaders are having habit of being speaking, and they are not the good listeners. So, very importantly, when it comes to the active listening, first thing we need to develop the attitude of being patient listener, to listen what the students, the other stakeholders, maybe parents, maybe other people are going to speak with us. So we need to really keep our patience to understand their own problems. This is the very first and foremost point which we need to understand. Then analyzing as a third person. Like when we have to listen, we always analyze from our own perspective, which is a kind of a hindrance whenever we are listening to somebody, because our perspective may be definitely different than the perspective of the speaker who is speaking with us. So first thing we need to analyze as a third person. Then is respecting the viewpoint of the opponent, whoever is the speaker, whom we can consider as an opponent or the speaker. We need to respect their viewpoint also, instead of just being very firm on our own opinion. We should be respecting their own opinion. Then thinking beyond our acceptance level. Sometimes we have set our own acceptance level that this thing must happen in this particular way only. So we need to really little bit work beyond that acceptance later. And very importantly, in this point of active listening is stop being prejudiced. Most of the times we are having some prejudiced ideas about the person, about the speaker, and then which causes a lot of problem. So sharing with you the example over here, like I am basically from Maharashtra, and have joined over here in 2021, that is just last year.
and there is a cultural difference between Maharashtra and Gujarat. So when I joined over here, basically I found that the school timing is very less. And then I informed management that we are not meeting the school timing of the CBSE. In whole Jamnagar, this is the same situation. The Here parents want their students to reach early at home. They are very happy that the students should eat, they should sleep, and they should have less kind of such schooling activities. So when I increased the time, there was a havoc. Many parents used to call me. There was sometimes a hot argument even used to go on. Then I very first of all I calm myself. These parents are habitual of having this short timing throughout so many years, and if I'm coming and I'm asking them to change the school timing, definitely it will be difficult for them to accept it. So first let me listen, what are their problems, why do they want a bit less timing comparative to the CBSE's timing. So I started listening to them. I started understanding their problems. Started understanding their mentality. Then after listening very patiently, then I took over the charge and started then communicating with them ki what are the benefits their children are getting if the timing is little bit increased. 20 to 25 minutes in a day, if it is increased, it might not hamper them and their children. So after listening their queries, after listening their problems and situations and mentality, then only I could figure out ki how to deal with these people, how to motivate them to increase the school timing. And to my great surprise, that after listening them and jotting down their each and every point and then putting my point of view in favor of their students' benefit, so it helped me a lot. So being, if I don't listen them and I was very firm on my own ideologies, then it would have been very difficult for me to convince them. But as I was an active listener, then only I can find out the solutions and I could convince them. So this is a very good example which I have found as being a patient listener.
Thank you so much, Unnati ma'am. And I think it's very beautiful that you were mentioning that you try to calm yourself before, reacting to those comments, because it's very important that, because, you have to also know where the other person is coming from. And thank you so much, Unnati ma'am.
Right,
Moving
thank you.
forward, Harish Chandra sir. Sir,
Yeah.
there are different communication styles for different people. So, sir, can you share an example of how did you adapted a your communication style when you're discussing a topic with, let's say, students or anybody in general who had a different opinion on background from yours. For example, Unnati ma'am was sharing that the parents had, a different, they had some different opinions on increased timings. So can you share an example where you adapted your communication style, sir?
Yeah. Before I talk about adaptation to my communication styles, well, nowadays it has become a fashion for people to become very forceful in their speeches. They would say that they are right all the time, and then they don't want to listen to anybody else, and they don't give you a proper hearing also, and then they expect you to, just simply take what they say and then do it. This, whether it is my teachers or whether it is my principals, parents, whoever comes in, this is the first thing that they do. We are right, and you can't do whatever you want to do. So, if Hindi is to be removed from the state of Andhra Pradesh as the second language, then no, they say you can't do it. Well, there are so many things that need to be taken care of. So essentially, what happens is when people with the different thought processes and different ideas they come in, unless you give them a patient hearing, they will think that you are brushing them away, and that's not a good thing to happen when you want to put your idea in very explicitly and clearly. So under those conditions, I do. I mean, now even when I'm into different fields of businesses apart from education. So wherever it is, this habit of mine I had developed long ago when I was teaching junior college students. Listen to them thoroughly. That's the toughest and roughest lot. They don't know how to care for you, and they want to always show up themselves as the know-alls and things like that. So that's the toughest time batch to manage. So giving them a patient hearing and then step by step trying to talk back to them and clarify what point they wanted to say was exactly this. So they come up with a point and then you say, okay, is this exactly what you want? Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Okay, now listen to this carefully. Why you can't have that point or why that point should be modified slightly is because, so again, you go back through the whole thing and clearly explain to them in such a way that they have to become active listeners to you to ensure that once their topic has been spelled out clearly, it will become difficult for them to get out of their own topic. They need to understand the new topic. So running through the topic is my forte, and I carry along with the topic. If I have to tell the parents that tomorrow is a working day, though the information was not given because of so and so, so and so, I take the time off and patiently explain to them why this had to be a working day today and things like that. So this way, you need to move in and out of the people's own ideas, and then slowly and steadily push your thought process or your opinions into the scenario. That's how I deal with things. And these things happen almost every day, 3, 4 times. My teachers come up and say, "No, sir, the principal is doing this way, that way." And I don't have any one or two examples. I've got hundreds of examples going, and so it's very difficult for me to even convey that to all of you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. I think this is a problem we all can relate to. We also speak to our seniors that no, this other company is doing this. Now, why are you doing this? There's no leave for this particular day. So yes, thank you so much, sir, for sharing
Yeah.
your views.
Thank you.
Moving on, Kajal ma'am, would you like to add something to sir? Can you share a time? Can you share an example where you adapted your communication style while discussing any topic, ma'am? Ma'am, you're on mute actually. Kajal ma'am, हाँ जी.
Yeah. Uh, I resonate with what Harish sir said, and adding to it, it's very important to respect difference of opinion. It always happens that when we sit, in the staff room or even during our meetings, when we discuss annual days and sports days, and we had to, discuss one particular theme. Okay, we will be, for example, if we take Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or if we talk about celebrating 75 glorious years of independence. So there has to be difference of opinion, and setting it down in that situation where you are acting as a leader. You are playing a role of a leader where you are wearing a huge cap or hat rather, which is very heavy. So first thing first is very important: respect differences, respect their opinion, don't be judgmental. When we are together, there's no right or wrong. And then allow them to put up their ideas, otherwise, it becomes a very one way mode. And then find common ground. When we have such difference of opinion, we need to, cut down, bring all the things together, and then let's find common ground where we can, you can say, where we can agree on a particular point, and then provide evidence. If suppose in I want something and I want everyone to agree, I need to provide an evidence. If I tell everyone right now, are we here, it's morning, it's a beautiful morning, so do you all agree with me? If it is true, I have to provide you certain evidences so that it becomes true. And then be open to changing your mind. And then if I am wrong and you will tell me, no, it's evening. So am I ready to accept it's evening, it's not morning? So I'm just giving you some, silly examples here. And then following up, very important. Once we have decided on, very important for us to follow up, consider following up with additional information or resources related to the topic where all agrees. So these are the little, ways where we explain them and celebrate differences. I would love to quote my director over here. In a school, we always have different opinion people, and their exceptional cases are always there. So my director always used to tell me that, Kajal, you need to embrace these people who are always there to, pull you down and to prove you wrong. They are your slaves. They are the ones who are always there to support you, to polish you. You are sort of an uncut diamond, and you are in the process of becoming a real diamond. So embrace differences, and that's how we can, bring all these differences and shine like diamonds.
Thank you so much, Kajal ma'am. Moving on, Seher ma'am. Ma'am, what is a communication barrier? And have you ever faced a communication barrier? And if yes, how did you overcame it, ma'am?
Well, communication barrier can be due to many reasons, right? Personal experiences of mine. I was working overseas, and there was a parent who knew who belonged to Poland, and so their language was that they could speak in Polish and then or Arabic. I could speak in English. So, and she came with a problem of her daughter, and I had to address it. I had to listen to her and understand the whole scenario because she was new to the place. She had no clue about the system, and she wanted to understand how her daughter would be very easily going to slip in the mainstream education. We both couldn't communicate, so we used sign language. We used sheets of paper. I had to make the daughter sit down next to me in my office, and she was able to speak pretty like a broken English, but she was good in it, good enough for me to. Then finally, we talked through translator. I opened the translator then and said, "Okay, you speak, and we'll address it." there are no there was no hindrance when we started to accept each other's efforts in trying to be a part of the discussion, and then gradually we understood what she wanted, that she wanted to know things. The language or the circulars were not like friendly for her because she couldn't read them, so we made it a point that we will translate these circulars especially for you, and then we will send it to you on a separate sheet. We will translate these scripts. And the girl was in grade 3 actually. She was not a very grown up student, so she was also very young. So, but she was very supportive at this point, and she used to come every day with a small slip of kind of a note. And then gradually we built up a good communication. Sign language helps a lot. When we meet a parent, if our arms are closed like this, it means we are close to hearing. As it is said, be a good listener with a positive attitude. Listen carefully. Let the person who comes to you express whatever he or she feels, be a student, be a teacher, be a parent. Their anxiety level is high. They are nervous, they are upset, they want somebody to hold them and give them a solution. So there our role becomes like a kind of a strong person, a sponge who's ready to listen without being full of any expression. Give them a calm time, make them sit, listen to them, and then find out routes or solutions to help. So this is how I was able to guide my own student. We had many times these kind of barriers, language was a barrier over there. There were certain limitations where, like here in India, we talk about families as Shruti ma'am was saying that we talk about personal things and we help the parent out. There we were not supposed to go very personal into the families of the parents. So we had to limit ourselves over there, yet help them out. Situations, that's how educators, we have learned to cater to the situation according to the need, and that is what the teachers need to know. Individualized care has to be given to everyone. You cannot take the same rule for everyone. Each child is different, each parent is different, each situation is different. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seher ma'am. And I think very beautifully said, each child is different, their communication style, it is different. Thank you, ma'am.
Could I add a point here?
Sure, sir, please go on.
Yeah. Recently, I had gone to a very different kind of a place. It's a small town that is San Jose is what do you call the flea market in San Jose. That place has got Nicaraguans, Mexicans, God knows, people from Panama and everywhere, and everybody speaks a different language. But all the buyers, most of the buyers are the Mexicans or the Americans, etc., Indians. Now, the best communication method, like how Sir Madam has just now told, is everybody is using a cell phone translator now. You just don't have to converse. You just don't need to know any language. Anybody says, "What do you want?" So you point out, and then you say, "No." He'll put in the price there on the cell phone, or he'll say, "I want it to be reduced," and he says, "No, I can't come down anymore," etc. Everything. He's speaking in his language. You are speaking in your language, and the text changes, and it's all the business is done. So people have grown to communicate despite language barriers very easily, thanks to all these Google Mamas and all these software that we now have. Thank you.
Absolutely. The Google Translate has made our lives, easier when,
Yeah.
when it comes to communication. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Shruti ma'am. Ma'am, can you share an example where you faced a communication barrier, ma'am, and how did you overcame it, ma'am?
Yes, actually, I'm not basically from this district. I'm from a metropolitan city. So this when I started my job, I was very young. Means at the age of 24, I become principal of this school. Means past from 27 years here. So I used to find like people here are mostly they speak in regional language, and I was habitual of speaking either English and so very little Hindi or Hindi generally, but no regional language. Then I started asking them, like I can able to, but I was unable to express myself. But I started when I started learning their language and I started expressing, like some of the talk like Kasakai Mandai. So when in a meeting, I always used to conduct in a year a common meeting with parents, uh, like more than 7,000 parents always. Yesterday also one common parents meeting where I keep it a open session. So I always that time also I used to start means in order to make a ice break. So they used to hesitate in asking their problems and sharing their problems because they were having misunderstanding. Like I don't understand their regional language, though I used to, but I was not very comfortable in describing my ideas. So and then I observed that it used to be a one-sided show. Like I used to speak, they used to be active listener, but they used to feel shyness how to express their thoughts. Then I always started whenever I used to start. So I'll start with this Kasakai Mandai came cho. So then they used to just overwhelm. Yes, madam, Majama. How is it, George? Then they always used to start. Then they used to consider yes, mom is like us, and then has started talking like somewhat in their way, mix regional language and then Hindi one, and then they are and I just encouraging them like you speak in your language only whenever any child remains absent. So they hesitate in because they don't know an application to write in English. Some of them because this belt is a paddy crop farmer's belt. 60% parents are from that side. So they used to hesitate how to write an application in Marathi language or in Hindi. Then I buck up them. You write in that language where you can express your ideas. I do understand you very well. On the other hand, I can understand you better, and you are the one who are asking me to, on the contrary, to learn many of the language. So, to my great surprise, one parent, who was understanding, like he was in this misunderstanding, like I understand only English. So what he did, he wrote a letter to me, like he wanted to say that his child is going to remain absent due to health issue. So he wrote that letter this way, माझा मुलगा तो माझा मुलगा तो MAJHA माझा MALGA, and the whole letter that parent has written in English. Then I rang him. I told him, "This you could have written in Marathi also. Don't worry, I'm well versed with Marathi, and I would love that you should express the things in your mother tongue or in your original language." Then they started writing it, and whenever, as I told, common parents meeting remains. I always buck up them to speak in your own language or whichever language you are comfortable in. I would answer you in that only. So this is what that communication barrier is now no more a problem. And then they always, when they speaks to me, they consider that I am one of them. So this has helped me. Small effort, but they find me like I'm the part and parcel of their life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. Moving on, Unnati ma'am. Ma'am, Seher ma'am was just mentioning about, the body language, and there are some non-verbal cues also when you are communicating, like body language and facial expressions. So ma'am, how do you make sure that your body language and your facial expressions, they are aligned with your verbal communication, right? You cannot speak to a child, "I'm so proud of you," with a straight face or an angry face, because that won't be like that won't be suitable for a kid. He might think that you are maybe angry at him or something like that. So how do you make sure, ma'am?
Yeah, see, ma'am, I always believe that uh, verbal expressions are later than your facial expressions. So, very first and foremost important part is your facial expressions and your body language. So, whatever you want to communicate, it should be seen on your face. It should be aligned to the words what you are using. So, it is a very crucial time when you are communicating something, and if it does not match to your body language, then the communication itself is not having a complete communication. So, a very important point is that whenever you are communicating, if it is a happiness, it should be visible on your face. If you are a little bit sad while communicating, ki you are not happy with the performance of the student, and you are really expecting that the student is having too much of capabilities and he is not using his own capabilities the way he or she has to use. So it should be again visible on your face that you are sad internally and you feel that the child is having capabilities and still he is not able to use it. So definitely your body language, your facial expression should be aligned to the words what you are using. Moreover, going little away from the question which you have asked me, and which Shruti ma'am, career based think about communication is the language. But moreover than a language, I feel one more barrier is there, that is a mentality of the parents and the students or the stakeholders. Because many a times, like even we all are here, principal or chairman or working in the school in different areas. So we always have found that the mentality of the parent nowadays is that we have paid fees. Now, educating child is your responsibility. We are nowhere responsible. We are doing our part of paying fees, whatever the fees you are asking, we are paying it on time. So now it is the lookout of the school. So there is a main barrier for the communication is that the mentality. So somehow, whenever we are coming across to the parents, we need to first think about before starting the communication that what kind of mentality the parent is having, and that barrier need to be removed very oftenly. So we need to go in their shoe, consider ourselves also as a parent that the school is not only the school, it is the home away from home. So, and we need to assure them that though it is the responsibility of the school to educating the child, but it is a two-way process. Moreover, we require your help at least to getting the homework done, at least to understanding child to take part in the activities, right? So in a communication, when it comes to the schooling, mentality also is a kind of a barrier where we need to work on. And whenever we are now again coming back to the topic which question which you have asked me regarding how our facial expression should align, or the facial expressions or body language should align to the words what we are using. So surely when we are explaining anything which parents don't like to listen, we need to be very firm on our facial expressions and body language, that nowhere, even though we want to try to explain them, there should not be anger visible on our face, or our body language should not be in such a way where the parent will feel annoyed. Okay, so always it's a two sides of a coin, that your facial expressions and body language is a one side of a coin, and your words what you are using is the other side of a coin, and it should be complementary to each other.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much, Unnati, ma'am. Moving on, Harish Chandra sir, would you like to add something to ma'am? And also, how do you make sure that your body language and your facial expressions are aligned with your verbal communication, sir?
35, 40 years ago, close to, Doordarshan used to have a news reader. She would read without any expression whatsoever at all. Straight face, even the lips would not move. And that was the time when I realized that anybody who reads news like that will not be able to send any information to the people whom they're trying to communicate with. People will not be able to understand anything that the person is reading. So it's always very easy to accept somebody when they are using other means of, the supports and helps that are needed along with the language that is being used always matters. And that has become my main style of trying to communicate to people. So coming back to the question, facial expressions, I think the question itself is a little redundant, don't you think so? In the sense that since communication started between human beings, or even between apes also, facial expressions have been the most important thing, right? For example, now you're smiling, otherwise I wouldn't know what you're trying to communicate. You're smiling itself is communicating to me yes or no or acceptance or whatever. But this is how it has been all through the human cycle, that facial expressions, when you're angry, you shout, you gesture, and you close your fist. All these things have always been part of the the communication, the next level of communication systems that help you in that communicating properly, right? So, I always get reminded to this other movie called Gods Must Be Crazy, where the African guy speaks on clicks and clucks and nobody understands the language, and still yet how it goes through and all that. So, these are things that have been there, and we always have been using expressions as part of our communication skills. And then the more expressive that you are, I also do one more thing. If I want to explain a sort of a process to a certain set of teachers or the principal or whoever it may be, normally I have a pencil and a paper there, and then I quickly draw things and then show it to them how this goes on, like a flow chart and things like that. Instead of just trying to verbally explain that, look, after this, after this, after this. So these are other ways in which you use the other parts of your ability to communicate effectively. That's how I deal with communication, and I think body language and any other forms of expressions have been natural and normal to the human society since its inception of communication. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, Harish Chandra sir, for the wonderful answer. And thank you so much, Seher ma'am, Unnati ma'am, Kajal ma'am, and Shruti ma'am for being here today. It was lovely having you here on board with us and listening to your experiences and viewpoints, ma'ams and sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. It was really a good platform which where we have met it with each other. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we close the session, I just want to perform something so that our actions and everything gets aligned, our body language. Like if I have to say, hmm, good session, or good session, good session, right? So through this, we can explain how the session was, right? This is what the power of communication is all about. I'm remembering Dale Carnegie, Win Friends and Influence People, and even the other book, You Can Win Shiv Kera. So it talks about communication. This is a very powerful tool. If we have it, we'll be the person who will be getting the maximum salary out there. So I just
Narendra Modi is your example.
yeah, true, true, very true.
Actually, here I would like to add some of the points. Maharshi Vidya Mandir group has actually Maharshi consciousness based education. In there, we have our courses and one of ideal behavior and the behavior, like all things comes from ourselves. If you are happy, everything radiates from your face. If like a smile on your face, speak all story of the day. Ideal communication, if a teacher enters with a smile in class, it changes the atmosphere of a class. So it begins from me. So everything then, it continues with we. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am.
Adding to the last bit, Mehak,
Sure,
that
ma'am, please go on.
it is very important to have very positive demeanor and appearance while we are engaged in a conversation. Difference of opinions should always be respected. Differences should not be created. Number one. Number two, we should never be judgmental. Be it a teacher who's sitting on the other side of the table or a student who comes to stand. We have to be a kind of a give them a clean board, listen to them, understand what they have to present to you. Try it, and it goes to anybody who's watching this session, that first listen, be a good listener, then try to understand the other person's perspective, that what brings him to this kind of a talk. Then without deriving assumptions, think and then guide, because guidance comes first, then your judgment. Guidance is very important. That's how we as educators lead. And last point is that a good bright smile on the face is the best thing we can start the day with our students, little learners, with our teachers, and even the support staff. That's how we should begin every single day.
I want to quote Pat Gates of the Voice of America way back. If you see someone without a smile, give him one of yours. That's my favorite quote every day, almost.
Very true, sir. I believe in it. Smile,
Yeah.
and that brings change.
Okay, then bye, all of you. I need to go to another meeting.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Thank you so much, ma'ams and sir. Have a great day ahead. And for all the viewers watching us out, do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more stuff like this.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Wish you